Hi, I'm Jeremy Marks, Assistant Professor of Trombone at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Today, we're going to be taking a look at North Carolina's 910 All-State solo. I'm going to give you a couple of tips on what you can do to prepare for your audition, and you'll also get a full run-through of the entire etude. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so now let's talk about some preparation tips on what you can do to prepare for your audition. The first thing is going to be that you notice there's some contrasting styles in this etude. We have some staccatos as well as some lyrical legato sections, a few accents. We need to address all of those things and make sure that the panel hears how clearly we're identifying the contrasting styles. So let's use the G major scale as a vehicle to work on our different styles. You notice that this etude is in G major, so this will kind of get two birds with one stone. So let's practice an exercise working on staccato, maybe repeating every pitch of the G major scale. As I execute the staccato style that I'm trying to keep the notes really light and bouncy and not short. Okay, we want to make sure that these have some energy behind the notes, and so when we practice them on the scale, we want to make sure that every single one of those staccatos are identical to the one that preceded it. Now let's do the scale in a legato style. Execute a legato style, I change the way I'm articulating in my mouth. For staccato, I like to use a light T or toe, or T, depending if I'm in a high or low part of my register. When I use legato, I'm using an L syllable. Okay, so la, li, lo, or lu. And I want to make sure that my air is nice and consistent and blowing through the articulation. We want the air to blow the tongue out of the way and lead with air, not with the tongue. Okay, so listen again. Okay, we want the panel to be able to identify those three different styles. I use the legato, then I use the tenuto, and then followed up by a staccato. So I highly recommend you use your G major scale to your advantage and make sure that you're able to articulate clearly and concisely as you work on this exercise. All right, so the next thing is that we should address that we're in G major. Being in G major means that we have to make some adjustments with the slide in order to be in tune with ourselves. The positions I'm referring to would be F sharp above the staff and G above the staff. Using a tuner, you want to find where those notes live on your slide. F sharp is generally in a raised third position, and by raised I mean coming up closer to first position, and G is in a raised second position. When I hear younger students execute these notes, they generally don't know that there's adjustments that need to be made for those two particular notes, and they'll play them in a true second and a true third. To the trained ear, and especially the panel that's going to be listening to you, they're noticing whether or not you're making those adjustments. So let's listen and hear the difference between if I make the adjustment or not. Here's the G scale with no adjustment. Sounds really dull. You can noticeably tell that the top two notes are really, really flat. So we need to make sure that we bring the slide in and make sure we keep them to the high side of each of their respective positions. So here it is adjusted. In addition to using a tuner, I also recommend that you use a drone. You can find a drone on YouTube if you use cello drones in the search bar. Search for the tonal center of G and practice your scale very slowly and make sure you're making those adjustments appropriately. Okay, now the last tip that I have for you is you notice in measure 9 we go into 6/8 instead of being in 4/4. The 6/8 should feel like a dance kind of movement, okay? So we want to make sure that our eighth notes are light and bouncy and not heavy and forced. I highly recommend that you use a staccato articulation through this section unless otherwise indicated. So let me demonstrate. Now you could interpret it using a longer articulation, making sure that the note lengths have a longer sound, and this is what it would sound like. Personally, I'm of the persuasion that we should use a staccato articulation. This gives a nice contrast to the opening in the 4/4 section and really helps the listener identify that we're definitely in 6/8. It's a really nice complement to the way that the etude is designed. All right, I hope these tips are going to be helpful in your preparation for this year's North Carolina 910 All-District Audition. If you have any more questions or would like to reach out and get some additional feedback, you can contact me at my email right here at the bottom of the screen. You can also find me on social media such as Instagram and the Charlotte Trombone Collective. Good luck at your audition and happy practicing.